GM Growth Fam, time for another episode of Let's Talk Growth. Today I have with me Christina, I think who needs no introduction. Well famous for her short interviews that she does with a lot of CMOs, marketing folks around the globe. Christina, thank you so much for making it here today. Christina obviously is the CMO of Cookie 3 and is on a very tight schedule, so I'm going to try and keep this short. Christina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I wouldn't say I'm world known, and I don't know if everyone has watched my videos. I'm glad you love them.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan of them. So I would actually start this interview in a similar way of how you do your interviews, taking inspiration from them. But I have a would you rather game for you. Two questions, very short, not too big. Just have to pick one. So, would you rather, let's say, have 1 million followers on Twitter that are all real, organic, for you or for the company that you're a part of, or have $1 million worth of Bitcoin? And will that answer change in, let's say, the next 5 years?
Personally or company wise?
Anyway, let's say personally.
I think personally, I don't care that much about having many followers, so I'd probably take the Bitcoin also because you need money to survive and live, and that would be a pretty, pretty sweet spot to be in. And, I don't care about having huge following. I care about speaking to people who actually like want to listen to what I have to say. And I feel like when you've got such a huge follower base, it also gets a bit diluted when it comes to like speaking to your true target audience.
Makes a lot of sense. And let's say, would you rather be a part of a NFT community that is, let's say, 100 people, or a meme coin community that's very large, but both of them have really powerful, let's say, supporters or advocates for them? Which community would you rather be a part of?
NFT, 100%. I'm not a big meme coin girl. I wouldn't say I'm a big NFT girl either, but I've got my doodle, which I love very much. And I feel even though meme coins are a way more trading narrative than NFTs right now, I feel NFTs community have a bit more soul and feel to them, whereas meme coins, it's all a bit of, pumping and memes. It's not really long term community, whereas with NFTs it's like, when people have their NFT, like they're really committed to it because it becomes part of their personality, whereas meme coins are not as personality bound as NFTs.
Absolutely. And I know, it's interesting because I've heard you talk about like how NFTs specifically sort of become this personality showcasing feature of the repertoire that you're putting online. And I know you spent a lot of time working in the fashion industry. I, I was curious to know, like, what, let's say, specifically, any, let's say, top three learnings that you were able to port over from the fashion industry into tech and Web3. Specifically, because I personally see a lot of parallels between uh, showcasing your personal abundance, almost building a brand for yourselves. Both, I'd say a lot of times with NFTs, but sometimes also with meme coins. So, like, what were your learnings? What were you able to bring over that was really helpful?
Sure. I get asked this question a lot, actually. Everyone's super interested. So, one thing, the boring thing that I brought over is just the ways of doing things. So, like traditional marketing techniques, SEO, PR, ads, everything that's like the basis and the foundation for marketing. You do some of the things different in crypto because things move fast, but having the solid foundation was really beneficial for me. And then the exciting thing that I think I brought over is thinking and talking to your customer and shaping the narrative about not something that people need, but something that people want. Because marketing is all about want, but then, people I know need. So if I was working back in fashion, if I was working with like a fast fashion brand, like let's say H&M, like everyone needs clothes. And then it's like the sort of like battle between like companies about where people go and get the clothes that they need. Now, when you talk about like luxury fashion, it's extremely expensive. Like it's totally a luxury need. Like you will not think I need a new jumper and I don't know, go and get like a couture jumper out of the runway, right? You will not do that. And then So that's something that I brought over because it's similar way of creating that need for luxury. Because crypto, like people don't call crypto luxury, but crypto is luxury. Someone who is struggling, to make ends meet, like they usually will not be investing a lot into crypto because it's not a first like need that you've got on the like Maslow's hierarchy or whatever. So it's the luxury marketing, and I feel like the way of thinking how you actually make people understand like the extra luxury benefit that they're getting from participating in a community or getting certain crypto token. This is an interesting like shift that I took over.
Do you also think, like, when it comes to just the aspect of almost irrationality within the luxury fashion space specifically, because like the bag that you're buying may not be worth $10,000, but you pay for that because it's almost showcasing your own wealth and almost having like irrational decision making towards your purchase decisions is similar to how people would look at that in crypto as well? Or do you feel like there is a sense of, let's say, fiscal responsibility, if I may, in terms of the buying that you're doing? Like, do you see like if that's the case, or do you feel like no, that's not the case?
I mean, I feel the best example from fashion to crypto, I would say, are the Hermes bags. Like they cost like the crazy amount, and they're the sort of investment. Like the reason you get an Hermes bag is first of all to have it, and then the way Hermes has structured like their positioning and their business model is that it's extremely difficult to get like a Birkin bag, for example, and then they appreciate over time. So people get these bags, they don't wear it, they keep them, as in like they're the hodlers of Hermes, like they're the hodlers of the bag because they appreciate and value so much. And that's the same with the fashion pieces. You'll wear it like the couture piece, maybe you'll wear it once and twice, but it's the feeling of owning something that is unique that will appreciate and value. That's sort of similar to when I feel like crypto trading, like it's shorter time periods. You don't have to be as patient, but with some tokens, like you can be super patient and then it will pay off as well. So there is the similarity.
So I know you've talked about Cookie 3 to death, probably at this point, but I do want to ask you, like, if you were describing it to a 5-year-old, how would you do it? Because there's so many different elements of Cookie 3, the ecosystem, so on and so forth. But just the core product, if you were to explain it to a 5-year-old, how would you do it?
Yeah, I'd say like, okay, imagine like you want to invite your friends for your birthday and your mom tells you like, I know you have 30 friends and you can only invite 10. And you're like, oh, how do I pick? And you're like, let's say you like them all equally, but like your friends like maybe more your friends more or less, or like they can be saying something I know behind your back, or they might be not your really real friends. So let's imagine like you have a way of telling like which of these friends like actually care about you, actually talk about you, actually like will come and play with you, and it's not only one-sided for your end. So Cookie 3 lets you get this information, but for crypto.
That's amazing. That's really, I really like that description.
I used to work with kids, so explaining
Oh,
difficult
wow.
concepts is
Okay.
not that
So
tough.
I didn't throw you a curveball at all. Awesome. Lovely. And also, like with Cookie 3, also that you have the Cookie 3 DAO. You have a partnership with them that evolved out of the original community that Cookie 3 built. It's a really fascinating partnership personally to me. But what I did want to ask you, especially when it comes to you looking at almost at the kind of data points and almost like at an individual level when you're doing your analysis, building an understanding of that. What were sort of the early assumptions when you're in the crypto Wild West, when there is pretty much no standardization in terms of building a system on top of it? What is at the core of the engine that Cookie 3 runs with its product?
It's the data layer. It's for both like Cookie and Cookie DAO. There is a strategic partnership, and together we're building this data layer. So I know there is a lot of products and platform, but if you strip them down of like their interfaces and what they do, like they all plug into this one data layer, this like big big pot of data, and they all just organize it and present it in a different way for different purposes and different audiences. But like the core is the data layer, is the raw data that's collected, that's processed, that's tagged, and that's like the underlying layer on which like all of these products are built.
So I know, like with KOL scoring, the system that you built, I think you were probably one of the early people who introduced KOL scoring. Definitely it was before Cato, if I remember correctly. And like, do you feel now with, so it's been 2 years almost since the product coming out, KOL scoring coming out, and you've obviously looked at a lot of that, mapped out a lot of the market as well. Do you feel like now with the advent of AI, the analysis that you're doing on each KOL at an individual level is going to become more than just, okay, like this is their quality, they're a bot or not a bot, or let's say their following is botted or not botted, to, okay, now this person talks about a certain brand or a certain niche or a certain product in a certain way, and giving those kinds of insights to projects when they're picking their influencers. A lot of that you could potentially do in Web 2 because a lot of the content is, let's say, video oriented. So there's a certain sense you can make out of it. But on Twitter with threads and textual context might become difficult.
100%. So together with the Cookie DAO, we are building the Cookie Deep Research, and it will be integrated. Some of it will be integrated into Cookie version 1, and then like the full version of Cookie Deep Research will come out. And you'll do exactly that. So it will not only help you score KOLs and understand people's Twitter profiles, but it will also give you live summaries of the topics they're discussing, any controversies around them. You'll be able to talk to Cookie Deep Research about, issues with certain KOLs. So let's say I want to work with this KOL. I give it to Deep Research to analyze, and then I chat in the terminal with Deep Research, and I'm like, are there any controversies? I'm looking for KOLs for this campaign. This is my target audience. Is this KOL like right for me, or like help me find KOLs for this campaign? So yes, AI is going to make marketers' life in this regard much easier once Cookie Deep Research is in place.
I know that a lot of projects suddenly wake up to the fact that, oh, we need KOLs right before a big TGE. But I wanted to ask you, like, post TGE, post token launch, let's say it's been 3, 6 months, year, so on and so forth. At that point in time, what are some of the successful campaigns that you've seen that post TGE taking up KOLs, using Cookie 3 to make that selection and doing data tracking, so on and so forth? What kind of a campaign have you felt like, okay, post TGE, this was really successful. And this almost becomes like a case study for us because the KOLs that they picked came through our platform and we gave all of the data and insights over to them.
Yeah, so we will be releasing a number of case studies soon. For example, we work with the agency called Flight 3. So they use KOL analytics for a lot of their clients, and a lot of their clients are in the post TGE phase. And it works exactly like this. Like they mostly use it to track campaigns and to score KOLs. And then I know, because you said many people think about KOLs only in the pre TGE phase. But if you think about KOLs only in terms of the token, you are probably doing it wrong, because get a couple of KOLs to showcase your product and utility and actually like get your users in, and it's going to naturally have a rollover effect on the token, because if you have real advocates for your product, people see that it's real, that it's useful, and even more people, they might not become your users, but they might get your token because they will be seeing that there is a group of people that are using this product.
No, absolutely. And like, are there any, let's say, common recommendations that you make to teams on the specific, let's say, KPIs? Like, okay, these are the top 3 things that you need to be paying attention to that's going to have the most impact. Let's say PTE, when somebody is picking up KOLs doing a huge campaign. Are there any recommendations that you make? Like, okay, look at these 3 KPIs because they are extremely important.
I mean, definitely when looking at KOLs to work with, one thing is choosing KOLs that speak to your target audience. Because if, I don't know, if you're a ZK company and you're choosing a KOL that talks about NFTs, that's probably their audience, probably not the audience that you want to onboard. Then I would say go 70% like smaller KOLs, not micro, but like mid KOLs with very like unique tone of voice, very unique personality and stuff. and 30% like larger KOLs that like, everyone's following. Because actually those smaller KOLs have a much more loyal base, and they are going to bring these initial users and deploy them first, and then later on deploy the larger ones once you've got some momentum with the smaller ones, because the larger ones only then are going to showcase like what these smaller KOLs have worked out for your brand. It's gonna start having traction, and then these larger ones are going to come and bring in like more mainstream users that maybe care only about trading and the token rather than the product itself. But you need to have that base first.
Makes a lot of sense. So, Christina, one really interesting question I have for you is, let's say, out of three future scenarios, because like I've heard, especially in the past 2 weeks, it feels like I've heard everything from jobs are not going to exist at all to we're going to be subservient to I don't know what's that called, SAI or something like that. So I've heard everything, heard the spectrum. What I wanted to understand from you is how do you look at, let's say, future of especially consumer behavior? So if I were to give you like three scenarios, so let's say scenario one is where we're in a Ready Player One future, where everything else is taken care of. All we need to do is play video games all day. Two is, let's say, if we were in a Her future, which that movie Her, the guy talks to a personal AI, and that AI understands that person better than anybody else. Or three is we're going towards a Terminator future, and humanity is going to screw itself over how fast we're evolving with AI. But more specifically, I think what I want to understand is how do you see consumer behavior evolving as we go forward with more and more advanced AI?
Yeah, so out of the three, I mean, I don't think any of them is really like 100% good representation of what's gonna happen. But I'd say like probably Hair is the closest to what I think will happen. Because looking at how people are using AI right now, how they're using, GPT-4 and stuff, like they're using it as personal assistant. Like I don't Google, I ask ChatGPT most of the time, which leads me to your main question, which is how it's going to shift consumer behavior. So I think it's a big challenge for brands right now as to how they position themselves when people stop Googling. Like AI search engine positioning is a big thing in marketing that many marketers are looking at, but also how do you position yourself in AI? And then SEO changes massively because SEO was earlier about positioning high in search, and then maybe there's like Google summaries linking to your page, but right now AI is giving you the full answer, and it's not always giving you the sources. So it might be actually minimizing the traffic to your page. And then how do you basically market yourself to AI? So if I say, I don't know, find me 10 summer dresses in this price range that are yellow, that it's going to show my brand and not other brands. Like it's gonna give like how do I target my end customer that the AI that they're talking to that knows them the best chooses to lead them to my product? Like it's super interesting, and I'm doing some research on it. My team is doing some research on AI search, but I am really interested in how we're going to tackle this as well.
No, same here. And I've been looking at like, especially with SEO or with search, it was highly dependent upon the fact that you're almost looking for user intent or let's say customer intent. Like I'm asking a specific question based on, let's say, the keywords that I'm using. It's matching me to relevant results, so on and so forth. What I'm also interested in understanding is because I know you're working with a lot of data points, you're looking at consumer data very regularly. In terms of the UI, because we already know that with, let's say, something like TikTok or Instagram, so on and so forth, we always have like a constant supply of relevant content. For one, if let's say we're going on any e-commerce websites, we're also getting recommendations based on previous purchases. But that still requires me to open the app, look at having the intent of buying something and then being recommended that. Do you feel like this user flow is going to change from a user interaction perspective? Or do you feel like it's not going to change, it's just going to evolve and mold into something similar?
I mean, I don't know yet. I think it's going to be like a very slow shift, but feel like, I don't know, and I have this vision of the future when you do everything through your like AI assistant or your AI agent. So your AI agent is going to do like the entire journey for you. Like you will be just speaking to your agent. Maybe it will be voice activated. You won't be clicking buttons anymore. So that might cause like a total shift as well.
So then, but I'm curious. So if everything happens through an assistant, then would we not have social media? Will we not have things like Twitter? Like, will we not have apps? Will we not have websites? How do you
We
think
will.
that's going to change?
We will, but I mean, it may change or it may not change, but it is possible, in my opinion, that you won't be really like going to Twitter. Like your AI agent, your AI assistant will know you well enough. You'll be like, tell me what's happening. And they'll be like giving you like, oh yeah, like Christina posted this, Arnoff posted this, they're talking about this. And then I can ask more questions if I want to, like, oh, what are people saying about this? And then I may be like, okay, like comment something about what I think about this issue. So I think it might change to be way more like conversational through an agent. That's like a very distant future, but this might happen. I'm not saying it will happen. Like social media may stay the same. I don't know, but I think it's a possibility.
Do you also think like we'll have agents for buying the next, let's say, investment that we want to do, token we want to buy, an FT we want to buy? Because we're not doing the research, AI is doing it. I'm quite fairly certain it can make a buying decision on its own as well, based on like the research it's done. And it's almost like a yes or no question for anybody to say making an investment decision.
100%. I feel, these trading agents are already in place. And I believe everyone will have like an agent swarm. So you'll have the agent you talk to, and then you'll have the agent that does the research, you'll have the agent that trades, and your like main agent will be like commander agent that is commanding all of these agents and like, let's say, discussing your trading strategy with you, and then working with the agent swarm underneath him to like execute the trades in line with your strategy.
Awesome, lovely. So, Christina, final question for you is, let's say if you could have one superpower and let's say you could recommend everyone else to build one superpower for them as well, what would one be for you personally? And then what would one you would recommend everybody to have going forward, especially marketers?
For me, I would love to probably teleport because there are so many conferences and there's so many things I want to be at the same time. So that's for me personally. For all marketers, I'll say huge brain that can analyze like all of the data and see all of the data points and execute and do research at the same time, because there is just so many things and you have to know when to say like, okay, that's where my research comes to an end. This is where I act, because you can fall down the research rabbit hole and you can keep researching and researching.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Christina, this has been an absolute pleasure. I think we covered a lot of ground, especially I think with Cookie 3, because obviously a lot of people follow it, a lot of companies use it, so on and so forth. I've always had an outsider's view on the tool and the product itself. It was great to understand, like, especially what's happening under the hood, what the future for the product looks like, and how you personally are looking at things evolving in the future. So, Christina, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Stay tuned for the next episode. GM and bye bye.
Bye bye.